There is something that happens to millions of people every single day, and almost nobody talks about it honestly. You are in the middle of a conversation, you know exactly what you want to say, you can feel the words sitting right there just behind your thoughts, and then it vanishes like smoke. Gone. You smile awkwardly, say, "You know what I mean," and the moment passes. But something else lingers. A quiet unease. A small but growing suspicion that your mind is no longer working the way it once did. Maybe you have walked into a room and stood there in complete silence, staring at the walls, trying to remember why you came in. Maybe you have been introduced to someone, shaken their hand, heard their name, and 30 seconds later, it has simply ceased to exist in your memory. Maybe you have sat down to read something you genuinely wanted to read and realized after 3 paragraphs that you have no idea what the first two said. These are not dramatic moments. They do not make the news. Nobody around you even notices. But you notice, and if you are being honest with yourself, these small slips have been happening more often lately, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a question has started growing louder. Is this the beginning of something I cannot stop? I need you to hear me very clearly right now, because what I'm about to tell you goes against almost everything popular culture has taught you about the aging brain. These memory lapses, this mental fog, this feeling that your sharpest thoughts are always just slightly out of reach, none of that is a verdict. It is a signal. And signals can be responded to. I am a brain health specialist, and I have spent more than 2 decades working with patients who came to me convinced their minds were in irreversible decline. Men and women who had stopped reading books because they could not follow the plot. People who had quietly withdrawn from dinner table conversations because they were afraid of losing their train of thought mid-sentence. Individuals who had started writing everything down because trusting their own memory felt too risky. And what I found again and again was not what they feared. What I found was not a broken brain. What I found was an unstimulated one. Here is the truth that changes everything. Your brain is not a machine that gradually wears down until it stops. It is a living, dynamic, constantly adapting organ that responds directly to the demands you place on it. The scientific term for this is neuroplasticity, and it is one of the most important discoveries in the history of neuroscience. Your brain, at any age, retains the ability to grow new connections, strengthen existing pathways, and essentially rewire itself in response to the right kind of stimulation. That means the story is not over. That means the trajectory can change. That means one small, precise daily habit can genuinely begin to shift the way your brain functions. Not someday, not after months of grueling effort, but starting today in a matter of days. And I am going to show you exactly how. But first, I want you to understand something important about why so many people never discover this. Because it is not ignorance and it is not laziness. It is the story they have been told their whole lives. From the time we are young, we absorb a very specific narrative about aging and the brain. We hear the jokes, we see the portrayals in movies, we watch people around us accept mental slowdown as normal and inevitable, and slowly, without ever consciously deciding to, we begin to believe it too. We internalize the idea that forgetting things is just what happens when you get older, that there is a shelf life on mental sharpness, and that once you pass a certain age, the only direction is down. And here is the devastating consequence of that belief. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we believe nothing can be done, we do nothing. We stop challenging our minds. We stop learning new things. We stop placing demands on our neural networks. We settle into comfortable routines that require almost no cognitive effort. And in doing so, we begin to accelerate the very decline we fear. The brain does not just fade on its own. In many cases, we unknowingly participate in its fading by depriving it of what it needs most: challenge, variety, and active engagement. This is why I want to introduce you to something I call the dual activation method, a short, precise daily practice that takes no equipment, no special training, and no more than 60 seconds of your time, but that engages your brain in a way that passive daily life simply never does. The principle behind it is this: your brain forms and strengthens neural connections most powerfully when it is asked to do two cognitively distinct things simultaneously. This is sometimes called dual task training, and the research behind it is remarkably robust. When your brain must manage a physical coordination task at the same time as an active mental retrieval task, it is forced to build communication bridges between multiple regions: the frontal lobe, which governs focus and decision-making, the cerebellum, which handles movement and timing, the temporal lobe, which is deeply involved in memory and language, and the hippocampus, which is the brain's primary memory consolidation center. Getting all of these regions to work in concert at the same time within a single brief exercise is like running a high current charge through a neural network that has been sitting in low power mode. The connections wake up, the pathways clear, and with daily repetition, they begin to strengthen. Now, let me walk you through exactly how to do this. You will need a chair. That is genuinely all you need. Sit near the edge of the seat, not slumped back, but upright with your spine tall and relaxed, your feet flat on the floor about hip-width apart, and your hands resting gently on your thighs. Before you begin, close your eyes for just a moment. Take one slow breath in through your nose, hold it for just a second at the top, then release it gradually through your mouth. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel the tension release from your jaw, your neck, the space between your eyebrows. Now open your eyes and you are ready. The first 30 seconds are about physical activation and oxygenation. With your hands on your thighs, slowly lift your right arm forward, keeping it straight until it is parallel with the floor. As you raise it, breathe in through your nose and count silently to 4. Then lower it back to your thigh slowly, and as you do, breathe out through your mouth, again counting to 4. Then repeat the same movement with your left arm. Up while you inhale for 4 counts, down while you exhale for 4 counts. The pace is slow and deliberate. There is no rushing. The breathing and the movement are synchronized and controlled. This matters enormously because this rhythmic oxygenating motion does several things at once. It sends a fresh surge of oxygen-rich blood to your brain. It activates the cerebellar pathways responsible for coordination, and it shifts your nervous system out of the scattered, reactive state that most of us live in and into a calm, receptive, focused state. Think of it as clearing the runway before the plane tries to take off. For 30 seconds, that is all you do. Breathe, move, be present. Feel the lift of your arm, feel the breath filling your lungs, feel the slow release. At the 30-second mark, without stopping the arm movements or the synchronized breathing, you are going to add the second layer. This is where the real neuroplasticity magic happens. While your arms continue to rise and fall with your breath, you are going to begin naming items that belong to a specific category. Start simple. Choose something like countries, kitchen items, things you find at the beach, or any category that feels natural to you. As your right arm rises on the inhale, say one item aloud or in your head. As it lowers on the exhale, think of the next one. As your left arm rises, say it. As it lowers, find the next. Your brain is now doing something remarkable. It is maintaining physical coordination, regulating breath, executing timed motor movements, and simultaneously conducting active semantic memory searches across your entire stored knowledge base. These are genuinely different cognitive processes requiring different brain regions, and asking them all to operate at once, in sync, within a single minute, is exactly the kind of rich, complex demand that triggers new neural connection formation. If you go blank, do not panic. Breathe through it. The blankness itself is productive. It means your brain is searching, and the act of searching is what builds the pathways. After 1 week of doing this daily, most people begin to notice something they cannot quite explain. Words that were just out of reach start arriving faster. They feel more present in conversations. The mental fog that used to settle in by mid-morning lifts a little more quickly. That is not placebo. That is measurable neurological change in response to consistent targeted stimulation. Now here is how you keep it working. Your brain is extraordinarily adaptive, and that is mostly a wonderful thing, but it also means it will get comfortable with any exercise that stays the same. Once a task becomes automatic, it no longer drives new growth. So you need to gently but regularly increase the challenge. In your first week, stick to simple concrete categories. Animals, vegetables, things you would find in a hospital, items that are blue. In your second week, shift to words starting with a specific letter. Every time your arm rises, the next word must begin with the letter you chose. The letter M, for example, might give you mountain, mirror, mango, museum, marble. This forces your brain to filter through its entire vocabulary in real time, which is a significantly deeper retrieval task. In your third week, try backward counting. Instead of naming words, count backward from 100 by threes while your arms continue their steady rhythm. 100, 97, 94, 91. If you lose your place, do not stress. Breathe. Find the nearest number you remember, and continue. The mental effort of recovering and resuming is itself neurologically valuable. By your fourth week, mix and match. One day you count backward. The next you name capital cities. The day after, you try to recall the names of every person you went to school with that you can still picture. The rule is simple and non-negotiable. The moment the exercise feels genuinely effortless, it is time to make it harder. A slight sense of cognitive effort is the signal that real work is being done. There are a few things that will quietly undermine this practice if you let them. Moving too fast is the most common mistake. Speeding through the arm movements, breathing shallowly, rushing the word retrieval. All of this introduces a subtle but real stress response, and stress hormones actively impair the same memory systems you are trying to strengthen. Slower is always better here. Control is the entire point. Inconsistency is the other great enemy. 3 days on, 5 days off will produce almost nothing. The brain responds to repetition. It needs to see that this demand is consistent, that it is worth building infrastructure for. 1 minute every single day, without missing, for at least 4 weeks, that is the commitment that starts to produce real change. Anchor it to something you already do without thinking, right before your morning coffee, immediately after you brush your teeth at night, before you sit down to watch your evening television. The brain builds habits through attachment to existing routines, so give this one an anchor and it will hold. And here is something that will amplify your results significantly. Hydrate before you begin. Your brain is approximately 75% water by composition, and even mild dehydration measurably impairs cognitive function. A glass of water before your 60 seconds is not a small thing. It is literally improving the medium through which your neurons are firing. If you want to go one step further, spend the 10 seconds before you begin with a genuine soft smile on your face. Not forced, not theatrical, just a slight upward curve at the corners of your mouth. That simple facial expression triggers the release of neurotransmitters that reduce cortisol, elevate mood, and genuinely enhance the brain's ability to encode and retrieve information. It sounds too simple to matter. It is not. And finally, teach this to someone you know. Explain it to a friend, a spouse, a sibling, a neighbor. Walk them through the steps. When you teach something, your brain is required to reorganize, sequence, and clearly articulate knowledge it already holds, which deepens and reinforces your own neural encoding of that information. You are not just helping them. You are giving your own brain an additional workout in the process. Here is what I want you to take away from everything I have shared with you today. The brain you have right now is not fixed. It is not a photograph of what you once were. It is a living system that is responding right now to the environment you place it in and the demands you make of it. Every day that you give it the right stimulation, it responds. Every day that you challenge it in precise and targeted ways, it adapts. Every day that you choose engagement over resignation, you are literally changing the physical structure of your neural networks. You have been told a story about aging and memory that was never entirely true, and you do not have to keep living inside it. 1 minute, every single day, starting today, not next week, not after you have thought about it more. Today. Try it for 7 days and then come back. Tell me what shifted. Tell me what felt different. Tell me about the word that came back, the conversation you stayed present for, the name you remembered that used to escape you. Your experience matters, and your story might be the exact thing that gives someone else who is quietly struggling the courage to try. Your mind is not done, not even close. Give it 1 minute and let it show you what it can still do.